Hi beautiful, welcome to my channel. In today's video we are going to be playing with the new Mini Xenon palette from Natasha Denona. It took a while for it to finally arrive to my house and I am playing with it today. I cannot wait to show you how I created both of these looks and my overall thoughts about this palette based on my swatches, playing with it today, blending it out, etc. I'm going to basically tell you every single thing you need to know about this palette in order for you to make a decision on whether you need it or not. So if you are excited for the video, then just keep on watching. Before I show you guys the swatches and we start playing with these shades, let me read you what you need to know about this palette. On the Sephora website it says this ultimate palette features 5 essential shades to create Natasha Denona's signature smoky cat eye. It includes creamy mattes and a highly foiled metallic, perfect for bold and defined looks with a pop of dramatic glam. This is also the first and only mini palette to include the supremely rich and velvety blackest black eyeshadow. I have to say, when I first saw this launch online, when I first saw it announced, I personally wasn't super thrilled about it because this color story right here is just not my personal preference. To be quite honest with you, I don't think I've ever done looks like the ones that I did today. I've never worked with a gray to black and silver color story like this palette has, but I do like to step out of my comfort zone. I like to try everything, and so of course I had to grab the palette. I wanted to review it. I wanted to show you what looks I could come up with, and you know, it might be your guys's color story. You might really love the gray to black color theme. I have to say that after playing with it, I also might have changed my mind on things that I initially thought about this palette. So with that said, let's get started with the swatches and the looks. I was going to get my other lens to do the eye look really closed up, but I've never used this palette before, and when I haven't used the palette before, I just rather give you guys my first impressions on it. And if I'm giving you my first impressions on something, I want you to look at my facial expressions, you know? Like, I don't like to be a talking eye unless I'm strictly just giving you eye look instructions. So I'm going to do both. I'm going to give you eye look instructions. I am also closer to the camera, but you can still see the rest of my face, and I want to give you my first impressions. So first, let me tell you guys about my first impressions on the swatches. I wanted to kind of live swatch so you can see how the eyeshadows glide, and of course I started with the color on the left, which was the black. When I first swatched it, I was like, what just happened? The swatch was like horrible. The black eyeshadow in this mini palette is drier than her usual matte eyeshadows. It doesn't glide well. It looked super patchy. I went back a couple more times to keep adding intensity to it so that the swatch would look a little better, but you can definitely see that it is a drier type of matte black shade, very dark, very intense, but it's just not very glidey. The next color, which was the deep gray shade, was a different story. That one you can see from when I first swatched it, it glides a lot better. It is a lot smoother. I went back a couple times, not adding product, but just kind of rubbing it in to distribute it evenly. And that particular swatch looked fantastic. Moving on to the color in the middle, I think that is definitely the best color in this little palette. That silver is so pigmented, so creamy, so intense right away. Absolutely love the way that silver glides. If you're looking for a good silver to add to your makeup collection, this is a really nice silver right here. Moving on to the fourth color, which is the pale gray. That one I had to go back and build up a couple more times because it is a lighter color, so it didn't show up right away, but it also felt very smooth and it was very easy to build it up. And then I had a really similar experience with the last color. That one also swatched very nicely. So to summarize things, the only shade I am genuinely nervous about is that black shade, but the formulas on the other 4 shades seem to be in line with what Natasha Denona usually comes out with. So let's get started trying them out. I have my reference number 15 brush right here, and I'm going to start with the lightest shade. My eyes are already primed, and I'm just going to put that on the crease of my eye. And I'm just back and forth blending with my number 15 brush. Same brush, and I'm going to grab the light gray shade, and I'm going to build up my crease with it a little bit, darkening up things ever so slightly. So far, so good, but neither of these shades was the shade that I'm worried about. I'm going to grab the dark gray shade right here, and I'm switching to my Refer #1 brush. I'm going to do a little bit on the inner corner and the outer corner as well. So with my #1 brush, I'm doing little circles on the edge to help it blend onto the other shades. This dark gray shade truly is dark. It's quite pigmented too. And it seems to be blending with no issue. Right here, I'm blending the edge carefully. And the same thing on the outer corner, darkening up the gray a little bit more. Okay, and this is what things are looking like. Not bad at all. As you can see, I'm doing a halo eye. I can't wait to put that silver shade right in the middle here. But all of this was very easily blended. I didn't really have trouble with any patchiness or any edges that didn't want to blend properly or anything. So I'm going to grab my Refer #14 brush next, and I'm going to go into the black shade. I'm a little bit nervous about this step, but let's see. I'm going to just add it to the outer corner of my eye right here. Back with my #1 brush, I'm just going to blend it out. Honestly, that wasn't terrible. I feel like where I blended it on top of the rest of the shades, it looks perfect. It only looks patchy right here where I didn't have any color underneath, but that's okay because I'm going to put the silver right there in the middle. So where I blended the black shade on top of the gray colors, it blended out perfect. And I'm going to do a tiny bit on the inner corner as well to make it match. Time for the silver shade, and I'm just going to pat it right here in the middle first, right through the middle of my eye, and then start moving it over the edges. With my #1 brush, I'm going to sweep in the edges of where I put the silver. Back to my black shade, I'm just going to darken up this outer corner a little bit more. And I went back to the Refer #14 brush. Okay, perfect. I love the way that looks. So let's go ahead and move on to this eye. I'm going to start with my Refer #2 brush in this light shade right here. And I want this to be the inner part of my eyelid. So I'm blending it 1/3 of the way in. Light gray, same brush. And I'm going to apply it on my eyelid all the way to like the middle of the eye right here. And tap that where the two shades meet. I'm going to grab a fluffy brush in the light gray shade, and I'm going to use it on the crease of my eye. I know this looks a little random, but this is about to make sense in a second. So then with my #1 brush, I'm going to grab the dark gray shade, and I'm going to put it on the outer half of my eyelid. So I'm placing it on the outer corner first. And with the tip of my #1 brush, I'm going to blend it into the color on the crease. And I'm just back and forth blending with the tip of the #1 brush into the crease shade. And I'm going to go back and forth through the center of my eye with it to make it blend into the light gray shade. I added a little bit more dark gray to this outer corner, blend it a little more. And this is how things are looking. Go back with your fluffy brush if you want to make sure things are very, very well diffused. Okay, so this is the second look right here, and you can of course leave it at this like matte gradient, white to dark gray type of thing, or you could keep going. In this case, I want to keep going, but this would be okay too for a lighter look. But I'm going back to my #14 brush, and once again I'm grabbing the black shade and I'm going to blend it into the outer V of the eye. And once again, even though this black shade swatched super patchy, when you blend it on top of the other colors, I don't have a problem with it. It actually blends nicely. I was honestly very scared because I thought I was going to hate it, but I don't mind it. I definitely don't feel like a swatch defines how good an eyeshadow is going to perform. Now, I did see that if you put the black eyeshadow like straight on top of skin and try to like make it gradient without anything underneath it, it's not going to happen. But it looks like this one, whenever you use it to deepen up a look, it works perfect. I'm going to clean up right underneath my eye here. Okay, so this is the top of both looks right here. I'm going to put makeup on and I'm going to be right back and I'll finish them up. I'm back and I finished the rest of my makeup. Underneath the eye, I'm going to do very similar thing on both under eyes, except I have one little addition to the under eye in this one. So I'm going to start with black eyeliner. This one is my Bedroom Black by Charlotte Tilbury, and I'm going to do my waterline. And I'm going to do in between my lashes a little bit. So I'm going to grab my reference number 26 brush, which is a pointed brush, and I'm going to back and forth blend underneath the eye to smoke it out. So just like this, nice and smoky underneath both eyes. Now with my reference number 13 brush, I'm going to grab the lighter gray shade and I'm going to smoke that out further under the eye. And a little bit of the gray here, the darker gray, and just blend that in too. Same thing on this eye. And now with a flat brush, I'm going to grab the silver shade, and that's going to be my inner corner highlighter. Same thing on this eye. I like to always blend it in just a tiny bit right here. And then with that same brush, this is going to be the only difference underneath the halo eye. I'm going to do a little bit of shimmer right in the center, just like this. So here's the first look before mascara or lashes, and the second look before mascara or lashes. Okay, I'm back, mascara and lashes on, and these right here are my final looks. You guys know I'm a huge fan of halo eye, so of course I love the halo eye, but I have to say I really loved using the matte light colors on the inner part of this eye right here. Therefore, just because it's a little bit more unique and unexpected, I think I like this one better than the halo eye I did on this eye, although this one is also really nice. Let me know down below what you guys think. Which eye do you like better? Okay, so now that you guys saw how I created both of these eyeshadow looks, you saw my first impressions, how everything blended and how it ended up turning out. My final thoughts are that even though this is not a color story I have ever tried or used or wanted before, I actually really love both of the looks that I came up with. I wear gold and rose gold, so this is again just not my color scheme, not the colors that I usually wear or reach for, but if there's ever a special occasion where I want a black smoky eye with a silver accent, this would definitely be the palette that I would reach for. If you wear a lot of silver jewelry, I feel like this one would definitely complement it. And I really liked this eye look in particular because it basically shows that even though this palette can be very intense and dramatic and glamorous, you can also have a regular look with it. Like if you skip on the black shade I added on the outer corner and take off the glittery silver inner corner, this could be a really nice just white to gray everyday look. I have to say that even though I thought when I swatched it that I was going to hate that black shade, because I really thought that it was going to be a traumatic experience for me just because of how patchy it's swatched. After playing with it and blending it on top of the other shadows that the palette has, I really didn't have a problem with it. I definitely don't think I would recommend applying it on top of the skin and trying to blend it out that way, because I feel like that might be a little bit of a problem. But the way I applied it on top of the gray shades that I had already built up on my eyelid, I didn't have any trouble blending the black shade at all whatsoever. I haven't watched anybody else's video on this palette, but just from comments that I've seen and messages that you guys have sent me, I know that some other creators compared this one to other palettes in their collection, and I don't know what the conclusion of the comparisons was. I don't have any palette in my personal collection that compares to this color story at all, so I'm not going to be able to do that for you. However, these mini palettes from Natasha Denona are only $25 and they have a really good amount of product in there, especially since these are not everyday looks. You will have this palette for a really long time if you do get it. I personally did like the formula of all of the shades. I was very skeptical about the black one, but again, once it was blended on top of the rest of the shades, I don't think I can say I had trouble with it because I really didn't experience it. I have to go back and watch other people's videos. You know what? I have watched one video on this. I watched Jenna's video when the palette first came out, and I remember that she had some trouble with it, but I don't remember exactly what the trouble was. So I think I have to go back and rewatch that. I'm going to leave you her video below in case you guys are interested. I know that she wasn't the biggest fan of the palette, so if you want to see what her cons were, definitely check it out. I'll leave you the link below. But again, me personally, I liked it. The black swatched like crap, but it blended out good at the end, so I had no trouble with it. I would continue to use it if I ever need to do this type of look again. This would definitely be a palette that I reach for, and I think that besides the black, the rest of the matte shades in the palette are very, very nice and creamy, and the silver is, I think, the best silver I've ever touched. Like, you barely touch your eye and it's like full intensity, full glam, full shine, really beautiful. Alright, so those are my final thoughts on the Mini Xenon palette from Natasha Denona. I give it a 9.7 out of 10, so almost a 10. If you guys liked the video, don't forget to give it a thumbs up. Don't forget to let me know down below which look you guys liked better. We'll call this one look number 1 and this one look number 2. And if you haven't subscribed to my channel yet, I would love it if you did so. So please hit the red subscribe button and also hit the notifications bell if you want to get notified whenever I upload. Thank you guys so much for watching. I love you all so much and I hope to see you back in the next video. Bye!